record. Tell us in the chat while you're here. What are two words that describe how you're feeling about your career trajectory right now? As you're coming in, tell us in the chat. What are two words that describe how you are feeling about your career trajectory right now? I'd love to hear it. Are you feeling clear? Are you feeling confident? You feeling unsure? You feeling nervous? How's everybody feeling? Tell me in the chat. It's Friday. I know. You're feeling frustrated, but you're feeling hopeful. Ooh, I like it. I like it. Uncertain about the next step because I'm nearing the end of my career. Jennifer, that's really common. I just want to validate. I'm talking to a lot of women who are saying, I have 5 or 10 years left. I want to make this really meaningful. I want to know what this looks like. You're in transition, your career path changing, life path changing. Yeah, unsure, comfortable. For those of you who are just joining, actually, I'll just put it here up on the screen. Tell us, like, what are two words that describe how you're feeling about your career trajectory? Unsure and at a crossroad, excited to make a change. So some of you are excited, some of you are unsure, some of you are in transition, uncertain, frustrated, and Joy is just like, it's Friday. You're supported, but unsure, grinding, hopeful. Ooh, pigeonholed. We'll talk about that. I know your name starts with a J. I don't know what your full first name is. Excited in a temporary position, rolling into a permanent one. Oh, that's exciting, Tracy. Very cool. You're feeling stagnant. You're feeling hopeful and optimistic. That's awesome. Perfect. Yeah. So I want you to really think about as we go through here, and for those of you who are just continuing to join, you can still answer this question. I just want to know what are two words that describe how you're feeling about the next 12 months of your career trajectory. Because the reason why you probably came is because I said, hey, I'm just getting some spidey senses out there that folks are feeling a certain way. There's lots of transition going on. AI has come into the picture, and I don't want to say it's causing organizations to lay off, but organizations are citing it as the reason they are making layoffs. I think that the real reason why they lay off is different. Another really concerning statistic that came out was that in the most recent jobs report, 100% of all job losses were women. If you don't believe me, Google it. Go Google it. I should have put the statistic in here. So people are just feeling a certain way. Like, is this what I want to do? One of you said, I only have a few years left to work. So like, how do I make this really meaningful? I feel like maybe I've been in my job for a long time and I'm ready for something different. I want to feel excited again. Or as I'll talk to you too, sometimes like our intentions are changing. I was talking with a client this week that said, I was hustling up the ladder, and now that I'm near the top and the next position for me is a C-suite position, I don't know if I want that. Like maybe I want something different. Maybe it's not title and money and status that I want. It's flexibility, autonomy, purpose, creativity, decision making. And so I think a lot of times that makes us feel unsure about where we're at in our careers. And so that's why I wanted to bring us all together and talk about how to be more clear and feel more confident about taking your bravest next step. Tell me in the chat, does any of this resonate with you? Yes, no, maybe, kind of. Just give me some feedback here as I go to the next slide. Okay, awesome. Sir. Okay, perfect. I just want to make sure that like I'm not living in a vacuum. That's also why I have these, is because I love to hear from you about what's happening. I talk to women all the time, but I always love to validate. So some of you on this call actually are new to me. Sometimes I don't always introduce myself to being in these calls because I have folks who've been around my circle for a while. So for those who are new to me, I am Kelli Thompson. I am an executive coach. I am the author of this book right here, Closing the Confidence Gap, which was named a must read by the Next Big Idea Club, which is put on by Adam Grant, Malcolm Gladwell, Susan Cain, and Dan Pink. And I wrote that in 2022. It's more relevant now than ever. I'm a certified executive coach. I'm also certified in emotional agility, Myers-Briggs, the Enneagram, if anybody knows their number, you can feel free to drop your number. Oh, thank you, Joy. I'm so glad that you got a chance to listen to it. And I do read the Audible. So if you enjoy listening to books read by the author, I do read that one. I also write for Harvard Business Review. My articles have been featured in their best practice editions. And I'm a regular Fast Company contributor. So if you go out to Fast Company, you can see usually a monthly article from me out there as well. I did spend 15 years in corporate America before I went off on my own. And oh my gosh, somebody just did that to my screen. I didn't know you could do that. That's just like I just got creeped out. I don't know if you all can see that little circle. I got my MBA and I've also been a management professor. That's okay. Melanie, I am like blown away right now because I lead public online classes. And so to know that someone else can do that, like I'm going to use this as a tool. Okay, so you taught me something today. Again, this is why I love bringing women together. So let's talk about let's talk about what we're going to talk about. Oh, it's still there. Okay, well, Melanie, if you can magically make it go away, no, that would be awesome. But if it stays there the whole, yay! Okay, perfect. I say if it stays there the whole presentation, then we're just going to roll with it. So, you're good.
Que ya vino el internet.
So I want to talk a little bit about what I'm hearing out there. And if all of y'all could put yourselves on mute.
A lo mejor estaban ellos bregando con eso. Sí, porque mira, la cajita aquí ya prendió.
All right. I'm going to mute folks.
Sí, eso fue.
Okay. All right. I know when we pop on, sometimes we come off mute and then come back on. I just want to talk about, some of the things that I'm seeing with my clients lately. And I want to just tell you a story about a client I'll call Carrie. This is not her name. Of course, all my clients are protected confidentiality. She had been in her role a really long time. She had been at her role at a very conservative financial institution for almost 20 years. And she could kind of do the job in their sleep. She was one of the only women on the leadership team. She really had aspirations to get to the next level role because she wanted to be more strategic. She wanted to be more forward thinking, but she also knew that her organization, and I get this because I worked for a very conservative bank. Banks are going to bank. And what I mean by that is they don't take a lot of risks. And that's a good thing. We do not want banks taking risks with our money. Like, this is a great thing. But for people like myself or people like my client, Carrie, who have ideas and they want to test and learn and they want to try things, sometimes banks aren't the best place to be to do those sorts of things because, again, they don't like to take risks. And so this really caused Carrie to really evaluate her career. Like, do I want to continue to move up here? And she kind of came to the realization that maybe the organization wasn't aligned with her values. Just like when I worked for a bank, I realized that if I wanted to test and learn and be creative, maybe a bank wasn't the best place for me either. It's why I run my own business. My boss always says yes. So she just kind of thought, maybe it's time for me to go look elsewhere at an organization where I could really feel like I could use my best talents of process improvement and strategic thinking and trying and tinkering. But something kept holding her back. And it's not even just with my client, Carrie. It's been with some of my other clients that I've coached over the years. They start to feel this feeling in their gut, like, maybe I'm capable of more. Maybe there's something else out there. Maybe there's another place that I could go and use my best skills and talents. Tell me in the chat, has this come up for any of you? Where you've just kind of had this gut feeling? Maybe you can tell me, where do you feel this feeling in your body? What have you been thinking about? But it's kind of just this urging, this nudging of like, there's something else out there. There's another place that I'm meant to use my best skills. But a lot of the things that get in our head are things like, well, what if I leave and my peers or my team don't respect me in this new level or this new role, whether I, switch roles internally or I leave and go someplace externally. Sometimes it's like, well, what if I can't handle all these new decisions that I'm going to be responsible for? Like, what if I leave? This was my biggest one. When I was at the same organization for 12 years, the biggest thing that I thought of is like, what if I can't keep this level of success going? Like, what if I've been successful here and then once I get there, like it's all going to fall apart? I hear that one from my clients all of the time. In fact, I have a client who just started a new job and she just sent me a message today and she's like, I'm going to go in today and I'm so scared that I'm going to be, found out and all the things, Sometimes I hear this. What if I take on more and my personal life falls apart? I don't know if I want that next level because I've watched people above me do that, and I want no part of that schedule that they've created for themselves. Yeah, the worries are real. When you got offered a job and they lowballed you, less than 6 months later, I got a better job offer that beat the top of my pay scale than one I turned down. Good for you, Tracy. Good for you and keeping your eyes open. A lot of people think, okay, well, what if I leave and it exposes like this innate flaw that I've been managed to hide this whole time? I hear this a lot. It's like an exposure concern. And I've heard this with some of my clients who have been recently promoted is like, now that I'm at this next level, like, can I handle all the increased scrutiny? I'm going to have to make bigger decisions that touch more people. My decisions are going to be more visible. And because my decisions are more visible, people are going to have thoughts about these decisions. And can I handle that? And the last one is like, what if I leave and I totally regret my choice? Tell me, like, do these resonate with you? Or tell me in the chat, what other thoughts have kept you from maybe making a change? Like maybe you're getting a nudging, like my clients did, like I did early on, right? Just getting this nudging, something needs to change. It's time to do something different. I'd love to hear in the chat, what's kind of like that? I call it expensive thoughts in my book because expensive thoughts are costly to your peace, your potential, and your paycheck. The one that resonates with you, oh, I wish I would have stayed. Big one is personal life expense of starting my own business. Dusty, I know that because I've started my own business. Is it going to be worth it? What if the grass isn't always greener? The thought that my current situation might not be that bad. Okay, I want to come back to this one, Wendy, because you're on to something and the grass is not really greener on the other side. Um, so as someone who has been in a prior relationship that was not healthy, and I'll just leave it at that, a lot of people from the outside looking in might say, well, why doesn't she just leave? Because sometimes when you're in that situation, at least it's the hell that you know. I know this hell. I know the characters. I know what trips these people off. I know the drama I have to deal with it because the hell that I know feels safer than the hell that I don't know. And I often say to my clients and to folks like you who will listen is people won't actually change. And I think that's why a lot of us are here. People won't actually change until their current situation feels so awful that it is worse than thinking about the ambiguity of uncertainty. Our brains hate, let me say this in a different way. Our brains hate ambiguity and uncertainty so much that we will sit in discomfort to avoid it. So I want you to think about how many of you are actually in that situation right now. Your brain is so scared of ambiguity and not knowing and not having a certain plan that you sit in crap, right? You sit in something that's not working, whether it's a relationship, a job, a role, a commitment, whatever it is. I like the level of flexibility I have. What if I leave in less flexible shifts, like work-life balance? I'm going to talk about that, Kate. What if the next thing doesn't address the problem? Yes, all of it. And I'm coming back now. And now I feel lost because you took a break. Will I be able to find another role making the same amount of money and the perks and the benefits? You guys are all giving me examples I'm going to talk about. All this is just a fancy name for advancement anxiety. Okay. It's not necessarily imposter syndrome. You're not necessarily scared you're going to be found out, which I think that is important. But the way I call it with my clients is it's just the very normal anxiety that comes with advancement. And advancement doesn't always mean climbing up the ladder. Advancement can mean starting my own business, just changing careers, right? Anything that is moving you forward into the unknown, I call advancement. And with that comes anxiety. And so I think sometimes just giving things a name, saying I'm feeling advancement anxiety can be just enough to help kind of move us into a different direction. First, we have to name it before we can normalize it and take action on it. So here's what I'd love to do. I'd love to do a little poll and you can just scan the code. This is all confidential. Scan the code with your phone. You can go to slido.com and you can enter that number, but let's just check in. What feels most resonant to you right now? Are you happy? And you can check multiple. It should allow you to check multiple. Are you happy where you're at? You've got a future career plan. Maybe you're happy right now, but you're not sure what's next. Maybe you have some career ideas, but you keep talking yourself out of it. You're ready for a change and you don't know what that is. Maybe you're just here. You're like, I don't know, send help. I have some help. And along with this webinar, I'm going to give you some tools today to talk about being a little more clear and confident in the next steps of your career. But at the end of this, I'm going to save about 10 minutes to talk to you about a retreat that I'm hosting in Omaha, Nebraska at the end of September. And so if you want to stay on the call to listen about this retreat experience, you can stay on the call. And if you got what you needed from the webinar and the tools, you are free to leave at that time too. So just know that if you don't know, just send help. Maybe this and the retreat thing I'm going to talk about at the end will be good for you. So a lot of you are happy, but you're not sure. And you're ready for a change, but not sure what that is. Or you have ideas, you keep talking yourself out of it. And even if you're happy where you're at and you have a future career plan, you're still in the right spot because we can give you some tools to keep you going. So I love this. And thank you for those of you who are being honest. I love that. I don't know, just send help. 13% of you. All right. I want you to know that you are in good company because here's the thing. Mid-career decisions are changing. I've shared this statistic before, but Chief and the Harris poll did a survey. 86% of senior women leaders are more ambitious today than 5 years ago, but job title came in fifth. They're more ambitious for things that give them financial success, decision-making power, control over their time, flexibility, autonomy. Like it's not, and I literally had this conversation with a client this week. They are being set up to take over a chief role. This person is a VP, the next role is chief. And they said to me, Kelli, I don't know if I want that. What's it worth? Is that amount of extra money going to be worth the amount of time that I'm going to have to take away from my family to travel, to do certain things, to schmooze clients, the things that were required in that role? So we had a long conversation about what's your enough number? What is your enough number that when you hit that number at some point, anything more than that, it just doesn't matter because it might sacrifice some of the other things you're working towards in your life. And we had this exact same conversation. I don't know if you have ever done any work around, if you all have done any work around your enough number. I know, Erica, I'm so excited for you to be at the Revive Retreat. I know you and I talk next week about your goals and I cannot wait. I recently changed careers and I'm doing well. I have 4 levels of management watching my progress and they seem happy, but still scared I will fail. Misty, I just felt the weight that you have 4 levels of management watching your progress. So yes, that's all I have to say about that. This was interesting. Lean In and McKinsey found that 80% of women overall said they want to be promoted versus 86% of men. However, though, if women believe that they're going to get the support that they need, that number actually goes up and becomes even with men. This last number, though, got me. Okay, this was a study. It's a little bit older of a study. I want to say it was 2021, might have been 2019. It came out of the Harvard Business Review, and they were studying mid-career decisions. And what they found is that fewer than half of people, or right about 50% of people, were not happy with their mid-career decisions that they made. Not because they made the decisions, but because when they were faced with a mid-career decision, they overestimated the risk of making the change and they underestimated the risk of staying the same. So what they did was they played it safe, they put off career decisions, and they got passed over. And it ultimately left them feeling stalled, undervalued, and overworked. And so this statistic is really interesting, that the fact that a lot of career dissatisfaction came from maintaining the status quo, not doing anything. And so how do we get stuck? This is something I call the status quo spiral. And I just want to kind of play out how this happens. And I know I've been in this situation. So, taking my own example, I worked at, the same organization for 12 years. And I remember there was times where I thought about leaving. And my clients have been through this too, right? They get the little nudges like we were talking about. And then you're like, I don't know, this feels risky. What if I fail? My client Carrie that I was talking about earlier felt this, like, oh God, it just feels so risky to leave. Like I've been here for 20 years. I've been there for 12 years. People know me. I know the little quirks of the business. What if I fail? And so then what we do is we then eliminate an option. We eliminate an option to go look at certain types of places or even look at all. I remember feeling this feeling when I left, or when I left corporate and started my business. I'm like, oh my God, what if people judge me? I remember even thinking, because I worked for an organization in our town that was like the place to work, if you know what I mean. I think in a lot of y'all's cities, you have the place to work. It was like very philanthropic, always a best place to work. And I'm like, if I leave, people are going to judge me. Why would anybody ever leave working for that company? And so then I eliminate another option, and then I'm like, oh, well, what if I made a mistake? What if I make a mistake in this process? Or like, what if I get promoted or if I do take this promotion, I make a mistake? I need more proof. I just need more proof that if I make this leap, that it's going to work out. So then we eliminate another option. And what we don't realize in our life, whether we go through this personally or we go through this professionally, as we eliminate options, we come to this place where the status quo feels totally unbearable. I have a dear friend who's a therapist, and I was talking to her. Tell me in the chat, have you ever seen yourself in this status quo spiral? I'm just curious as I tell this story. I have a friend who's a therapist, and I was kind of showing her the status quo spiral because I'm like, I felt this. I'm drawing this out. I actually did make this. I didn't make this. And I go, do you notice this? I want your professional opinion as a therapist. And she said, yes. She goes, actually, I treat a lot of people in this unbearable status quo. They come in with clinical depression because they've eliminated so many options because they never want to feel discomfort. They never want to feel risk. And so now their world is this small, right? Their relationships, what they're willing to do, the willingness to step outside their comfort zone, the things that they find interesting, right? Nothing ever stretches them. So their world is this small, and therefore it results in burnout, depression, frustration, all of it. And this is just normal that we would get ourselves here because sometimes we've got some tricky brain stuff at play that can kind of get us there. I mean, the first one, and we do this a lot. I know this is, one of the things I was really working on with Carrie, my client, is catastrophizing, like assuming the worst possible outcome. Like, oh my God, if I leave this secure, stable organization, I'm going to go somewhere else and get laid off because other organizations aren't as safe as mine. And feel free in the chat because we all do this. No one is immune. If you want to share your trashy, expensive thought that keeps you stuck, I'm sure we can all feel seen, heard, and understood. Like I remember when I left corporate to start my own business, I know one of you said that here. I was so scared. I was like, oh my God, like what if I leave corporate and I start my own business and, everything just, goes to hell in a handbasket and I lose all my money and then my husband doesn't want to be with me anymore because I did this because we just got married and he's going to realize I fooled him. I mean, do you see, like, it's like, rah, and then I'm living in a van down by the river, which I know is fashionable for some people. Is it trashy and expensive to wait on an IPO? That's a great question, Joy. What I tell folks is there's costs on both sides. So I would love for you are in a perfect spot to hold that thought. And I want you to think about, you might be thinking, I have to wait out my IPO. Or a thought might be, it's too expensive for me to leave before the IPO. So maybe just kind of tinker with that thought and let's work through it in this webinar. This is a great one. Sometimes we have negativity bias. I remember also, I still struggle with this, y'all. I struggle with this even when I launched this free workshop. I knew I was hearing something out there. So it's like, oh, I'll like host a free workshop, and then I like title it and all that. And I put it out and I'm like, what if everybody thinks this is stupid? We have such a negativity bias. I think I wrote in my book that of every thought we have, like 80% of thoughts are negative. It's called automatic negative thoughts, ants. And so sometimes we just have to notice that the ants will always come out first. Many times that first thought is negative. And then the last thing that sometimes get us stuck is this all or nothing thinking. I had a client I was working with recently where she wanted to stay in the same organization. She's very happy. She just wanted to go to a different type of role. And one of the things that she was saying was, well, Kelly, I can't go to a non-revenue generating department because then I'll get laid off. I mean, just black and white. If I go to non-revenue generating, I'll get laid off because she's in a rev gen department right now. All or nothing thinking was another client who was just really, really overwhelmed. And she's like, Kelly, she's like, I just have to, she works with a book of clients. She's like, I just have to fire that client. I can't do it anymore. I'm overwhelmed. I'm like, well, do you need to fire that client or do you just need to reduce the workload with that client or bring someone else on to help with the workload of that client? Sometimes we get into this all or nothing where it's like all of this or nothing at all. The job has to be absolutely perfect or nothing at all. So maybe just notice, tell me in the chat, which one of these trips you up the most? Are you a catastrophizer? Do you have negativity bias or can you tend to be all or nothing? Like it has to be all or this or not, all or nothing. Okay. I'm definitely, I'm definitely a negativity bias. I'm always like, that's just my little thing. Um, First thought, no. My husband's a catastrophizer. He says it helps him plan. Because he's like, you got to plan for the worst and hope for the best. I don't know if we've got any of those in there. He's an Enneagram 1, if any of you know the Enneagram. Negativity bias with a touch of all or nothing. I love it. Yeah. So I think it's just helpful for us just to notice. The more we can slow down and notice a name and just with a lot of compassion, you know what? I think I might be spiraling towards my status quo right now. I think I might just be having some negative thinking right now. Slowing down, giving it a name helps us interrupt the thinking enough to make a conscious choice. To make a conscious choice to say, is this line of thinking going to move me closer to the person, the leader, and the life that I want? But first, we have to stop it, name it, interrupt it first. And so that's why I'm trying to slow down and name some of these things. So getting out of the status quo spiral is not about like reversing course. It's about reminding ourselves that like many growth options exist, actually. And this is where I really encourage folks to use flexibility and use what I call just mental flexibility to realize like one way in is not backing itself out. It's recognizing that we need to teach our brain to be more flexible, that lots of paths can exist. And we can find evidence that many of these paths exist in the world if we choose to do it. The first thing, and if you've ever worked with me, you know that I love to ask people the opposite. Okay. And the opposite might be, well, what if doing nothing is riskier? That is the first thing that I ask every single client who wants to maybe make a career change and they don't know and they go down the whole thing and they're catastrophizing. And I'm like, I go, give me some evidence that staying in your current role would be just as risky. Give me some evidence on how staying in your current role could stall your career even more. Give me some evidence. You know, I could even go back to Joy's comment. Give me some evidence. And this is not about like gaslighting or proving you wrong. This is about making your brain fire in multiple directions so you can hold two truths at once. And so if I was talking to Joy, I might go to Joy and say, Joy, I want you to give me some evidence that staying for the IPO could be more costly to you than leaving before they do it. I'm not trying to prove you wrong. I'm just trying to get your brain to gather up some evidence so that it can try to hold two things at once, to create, new neurons that fire together, wire together, right? Just to kind of explore that, oh my gosh, what if the opposite is true? In fact, I'll give you a real life example. When I was leaving, I was considering leaving corporate and I was already working for an entrepreneur. And I really wanted to stop traveling so much. And I really loved coaching. And so I was considering going off on my own and I was sitting there and like y'all, my husband, I love him so much. And he always says that I need to pay him a royalty every time I give this example. But he's not like he's not like the empathetic, like, oh, type, he's just, like some guys are. And I said, you know what though? I was like, honey, if I leave corporate and go off on my own, I'm like, it's really gonna limit my income. And he just looked at me point blank and he's like, what if staying in corporate limits your income? And I was like I had never even considered it. And so that's why I love for us to sit here and stop and ask the opposite. What if I take action and my work-life balance is better? What if I take action and my relationship with my boss is better? What if I take action and I actually make more money? He ended up being right. Corporate America can be very limiting to your income because you got to stay in certain pay bands. The other thing that I heard some of you say is, I want to leave, but I don't know if I can get paid the same. Well, what if you leave and find something you love and you get paid the same? Well, Kelly, you don't understand. I don't want to leave, but you see, then I'm gonna have to give up some flexibility. Okay, well, what if you leave and you get good pay and more flexibility? And again, it's not that I'm sitting here trying to prove you wrong or, gaslight you into something that's true. It's about making your brain work really hard to hold multiple things at once because that's how you build mental flexibility. And I really encourage folks to find some evidence. And it's not even just reframing, Giselle. It goes one more, is that the neuroscience research shows is that when you can find evidence of people doing that thing, it actually helps hardwire your brain. So I'll give clients examples. Give me an example of somebody that you know or you've seen in culture who makes great pay and has flexibility. Give me some examples. Because when the brain can actually hold examples, that's when we can start to build new neural pathways and be more flexible. And the last thing I always ask folks, especially for my clients who just, I call them very good scenario planners. They kind of tend to go down the path of why things won't work. We say, okay, if you're going to spiral down, then we also have to spiral up. I want you to give me at least 3 reasons why this is going to go better than you've planned. And again, and give me some evidence. Give me some evidence in the past of when you've had a situation like this and you thought it was all going to go to hell in a handbasket, and then it actually went better than planned. The more that you can recall real evidence, the better the brain can be more mentally flexible. So tell me, which one do you all like best? Tell me in the chat. Which one do you think will work best for you? Is it considering the opposite? Is it both and thinking? Is it assuming it will work? Which one feels like it's something that you can try? I know I always have to go to the opposite first. That's the thing I love. Tell me in the chat. Asking the opposite, assuming it works. What if it goes better than planned? Awesome. Okay. Because here's the thing. The last thing I'm going to leave you this before we talk about how do we get clear, how do we get confident, is discomfort. Then one of the number one things that I work on with my clients, and I mean, even some of the things that we're going to work on in the retreat, is what discomfort are you going to plan for? You're actually going to plan for it. How are you going to accommodate as you move towards your goals? Because here's the thing. It's like every time you take a leap, it's like a scrunchie, okay? You're stretching. You're stretching your comfort zone. You're stretching your capabilities. You're stretching everything, right? And to relieve some tension, we got to move so we can stretch again. And we got to move so we can stretch again. But you have to plan for that discomfort. And so I want you to actually think about, what is your discomfort plan? Like, I know that I need to get my resume together, and to sit here and to think about all of my accomplishments and pull it all together is just going to feel really overwhelming. Okay, well, what's my plan to accommodate this discomfort so I don't allow the discomfort to stop me? Maybe you're going to, you know what? I'm just going to hire it out, because then I don't have to overthink it. Or you know what? I'm going to do it at a time of day where I know I can handle discomfort. So I really want you to think about, what discomfort are you going to plan for and accommodate? What does support look like as you feel that discomfort? Because it's not about reducing discomfort, because then we go backwards, right? It's about, what does support look like as you are enduring that discomfort that everybody feels as they stretch their comfort zone. All right, let's close this with how to get more clear and how to get more confident. So I was talking with a client this week about this exact thing. And it's the same individual I was kind of telling you about that is at a VP level, and they are being prepped for a C-suite role. And they're like, I just don't know that's what I want. I'm really happy. I make enough money. I really value flexibility, but I'm just really stuck right now because I don't know what next looks like. If next isn't chief whatever officer, then what does next look like? Can you give me a plan or a framework? How many of you would love a plan or a framework today? Anybody? Well, we all would, won't we? But I'm going to give you actually, yeah, me, everybody's like me. I want a plan. I want a framework. I want to walk away with like my 10 steps so that I'm totally clear and I never have to like feel uncertainty again. And I'm about to disappoint all of you, but I'm going to give you something better. I'm going to give you something that a lot of people won't give. A lot of coaches will be like, here's 3 easy steps. But if you worked with me, you know I don't do that. I'm going to give you a compass. Because here's the thing. There is no framework. There is no plan. If you would have told me that if I had no idea what my plan was when I left corporate, if you would have told me that I would have written a book that made lists, writing for Harvard Business Review, been in their books, my TEDx talk was an editor's pick, if you would have told me any of that, I wouldn't have believed you. Okay. And there was definitely no roadmap or no plan for that. But we all have something better. I know, Tracy, I'm breaking your heart. We have a compass. Okay. And our compass is always with us, which is even better. Our compass always tells us what is true north and which direction am I going, and is it the direction that I want to go? Okay, let me all ask you a question. I want you to answer this in the chat. When you all have I want you to all think about the last time you got really geeked out about something. Maybe it was a work project you got put on. Maybe it was a new job. Maybe it was just like an opportunity that presented in your personal life, and you're like, "Oh, so excited." Tell me in the chat, where did you feel that in your body? Where did you feel it? And what did it feel like? The last time you got really geeked out about a project, an opportunity, something that came your way. And maybe it was a little risky, but you were still geeked out about it. Where did you feel it in your body? And what did it feel like? Like a smile in my gut. Yeah. When I was leaving corporate to start my own business, y'all, I was terrified. I was so scare-sighted. Like the doubt and the fear didn't go away because I was like, oh my God, what if I fail? What if I have to beg for my job back? What are people going to think on the internet? Like, blah, all the things. But it felt like, yeah, so like your shoulders relaxed, happy butterflies in my gut and my heart. When I finished my book, my heart, I cannot believe it. Yeah. It's like I felt like this like light emitting from my chest, and everybody's spot is different, like a low vibration in my whole body in a good way. Yes, right. Everybody has their own compass. Okay. My compass is not your compass. My compass talks to me when I know something is right. It just feels like something is like coming out right here, and it's light and it's airy and it's exciting. And like, yeah, like you have to do a happy dance to get the vibes out. Even though I was so scared about starting my own business, it's like I was being pulled to it like a magnet. I couldn't not work on my website. I couldn't not dream and scheme about it. Okay. I want you to remember that feeling. Now, I want you to think about something that absolutely drains your energy. Maybe it's a project that you're like, oh, this cannot go away fast enough. Maybe it was a job that you were in that you were like, that was the worst thing in my entire life. Maybe it was a relationship that you were in that you look back on and you're like, oh, when I was in that, just, ugh, and I finally got out. Where do you feel that in your body? It probably feels totally different. I know, like, because I was interviewing, I was thinking, am I going to leave corporate or am I going to start my own business? I was interviewing, and I remember I would sit in these interviews, and on paper, they looked perfect. They looked great. But I just remember, and mine is my sternum. Everybody's a little bit different. I remember my sternum was burning and it felt heavy. Like it was all just being pulled down, like Giselle says, like it's like a draining, yeah, a weight on my shoulders. The bag can happen so slowly, so I want you to start noticing it. Your throat feels closed, tension in your shoulders, indigestion in your stomach. Just start noticing, y'all. That's your compass. Your compass is always telling you which direction to go. And so when I was talking with my client this week, we just toggled through some situations about, okay, well, what's something that you can't stop thinking about? What's nudging you? Okay, well, where do you feel that in your body? Okay, well, what are some other things that people are telling you to do? Where do you feel that in your body? And all of a sudden, they could start to read their compass pretty clear. Oh, the things that are exciting to me, it feels good and light and airy. The other things that people say I should do start to feel heavy and sinking. And that's your compass at work. And here's even an easier way that you can do it. I want you just to start noticing your energy. Just over the last 60 to 90 days, just conduct an energy audit. Notice what surged your energy. Notice what makes you feel like light, like I got to do a happy dance, like I got to get it out, right? And it feels light and airy. Notice what kind of puts you in neutral, and notice what sucks your energy. That's a huge clue about what you should be moving closer to. Because the things that light you up will surge your energy. Your body is so wise. Your body is your compass. Your body is your roadmap. And for those of you who would like a 12 to 18-month plan of exactly what you should do, I know that you are wildly disappointed, and I hope that you trust that this might be better. Because sometimes when we lock in that strict of a plan, it leaves no room for life to emerge, for new exciting opportunities that we weren't aware of to exist. Sometimes we can fall into a trap of what we should do. And so when we can learn how to read our own compass and trust our own body, our own energy, we are always going to be going, okay, this is what true north feels like. This feels good. This doesn't feel good. This feels light and airy. This feels like crap. This feels exciting. This feels draining. And that will slowly walk us towards the life and the careers that we're meant to accomplish. Ultimately, this helps us find our genius zone. Our genius zones are things that we are exceptional at doing. They feel easy and natural. It feels energizing and in flow. And you know what? It's something that you actually love to do. This is a little different than some of you may have seen that Ikigai graphic. That graphic adds what the world will pay for and what people want. Mm-mm. That will take you off course. I have a firm believer. How many of you have ever bought something off an Instagram ad? They go, I didn't know I needed that. Like sometimes we don't know we need things until you see it and you're like, oh, I'm buying that. So that's why we don't know what the world needs. Sometimes the world doesn't even know what it needs. So we have to pay attention to what lights our energy. Um, yeah, I want the plan. So some of our upper management is investing in coaching to keep my career moving. Watching the guys move up and the site leadership team being all male is disheartening. It is disheartening, Tracy. And that's why I've made some career decisions and I know others have too. And feel that in your body. That was a huge thing in my body that I felt when I would look up and I would say to myself, there's nobody who looks like me here. And so I felt that nudging. What else? What else is out there? And I followed that energy. I followed that nudging, right? Because here's the thing, y'all, your body is wiser than your mind. I know that might feel very counterintuitive in a world that teaches everything from the neck up. Leadership development is neck up. We're teaching people how to strategize and plan the deck and run the spreadsheet and the pros cons list. But neuroscientists say we have three brains. We have our brains in our head, our heart, and our gut that have just as many neurons. So that's why I want to give you something different. I think that people come, and there's people here who I've worked with. You can validate this or please tell me where I'm wrong. I think people come to my stuff because I will teach you something different. You can go to any other coach who's going to say, here's a 12 to 18-month plan that you could follow. But how do I know that's right for you? When you can learn how to follow your energy, you're like, this feels good. This doesn't feel good. This feels open and expansive. This does not. Looking up and seeing all male leaders, ugh, is this place aligned with my values? When we can learn to trust ourselves and our bodies and just follow our energy of what feels good, it will help you find clarity into what you want to do in your career. Ultimately, that's what I did when I sat and I thought about, okay, I need to leave this job. I've been here for 12 years. It's very safe. It's very secure. I was on their TV commercials, but I thought it's not fulfilling for some of the reasons that Tracy said, and just for other reasons that were draining my energy. So I really sat down and thought about, what am I exceptional at doing? What feels easy, natural, and fun to me? What sort of work over the course of my career just feels energizing? And what do I love doing? And I came back to designing and developing leadership programs, designing and developing talent programs. I love doing it. I could sit down and I could do that with like little effort. A day will fly by and I won't even realize I haven't eaten. Those are the types of things in your genius zone. And once I got very clear on what that was, I went out into the world and sought jobs that offered me that, even though it felt scary. But I was very crystal clear on what I wanted to do because it had to land in my genius zone. So let's just pop in the chat. Do any of you have any clues on what your genius zone is? Let's share with us. Let's see who we've got on the call. Is it making killer pivot tables that everybody can read for data? Is it process improvement? Is it finding errors in a process? Is it designing programs? Is it conflict mediation? Is it, putting together client service programs? What is it? I'd love to hear. Tell me in the chat. What do you think is your unique genius? What is that thing that you need to invest in your career that will help you become more clear about the types of opportunities that you can pursue? Because once I got clear on exactly what I was meant to do, what my genius zone was, now it's like I need to say no to everything that isn't that. So Misty, process improvement and designing new processes. Perfect. Now we say no to everything that isn't that. If you geek out over process improvement, like that's how do we follow that in terms of our next career opportunities and being open to what that might look like? Listening and coaching leaders, perfect. Helping improve processes and help the people that need to make the changes do it well. Awesome. A project communication management, awesome. So now we become more clear that my career, we don't know what it might all look like, but the next right step is doing all of these things in alignment with our values. Process improvement, presenting complex into digestible ways. I love all my process improvement people on here. So yeah, you guys are really not happy with me that I didn't give you a process improvement plan, and I'm telling you to lean into your body. I'll leave with this before they go to the next one. But I grew up in banking. I love me a spreadsheet. And when somebody told me that all of these answers would be in my body, I wanted to not show up to coaching any longer. But once I started to learn to listen to myself, the types and the quality of decisions were forever changed. I wouldn't be sitting here where I am right now. I wouldn't have written my book. I wouldn't have done all these things had I not listened to my body and listened to the nudging of where I was supposed to go next. All right, so let's close this out with that's great. We talked about, the advancement anxiety, some of the mental stuff that gets in the way, the junk that in the brain, right, that keeps us from being clear. In terms of finding clarity, it's not a map, it's a compass. It comes from listening to our energy. What lights me up? What drains my energy? And the more we can move towards those things that light up, we now have a compass that's going to guide our next steps, especially in uncertainty. And we can start to shut down all the things the world says, well, you should do that. So now let's talk about how do we be confident? One of the things that I find personally, and tell me if you all agree with this, but how many of you have ever felt like you have a goal and you thought that there was going to be some future version of you that's like more confident or prepared than the current version of you? Does anybody do that? I do. I always think like, oh, yeah. Okay. So my next big thing is but last year I was writing a book, but I was always like, okay, well, I think I'll be ready and more confident in like 6 months. Or when I was thinking about applying for a TED Talk, I kind of kicked the can down the road because I think in 6 months I'll feel more confident, right? I always think that there's some future version of us that's like, oh, I'll be more confident when, right? And then I don't know about you, but then the times it comes time for you to cash that check then in that mythical 6 months and you're like, well, that confidence that was supposed to be here like has not arrived, and so it becomes really frustrating. And so that's why we always think we have to be careful of the fallacy that there's some perfect future state. But I define confidence as the ability to trust yourself and to take action on that self-trust. Yeah, future Erica has a lot to do. Oh, and I'm going to have all the confidence when I have that special degree. I'm going to have all the confidence when, right? But remember, confidence is the ability to trust yourself, trust your skills, trust your energy, trust your talents, trust your knowledge, trust that still small voice inside you that's nudging you. Hey, apply for that. Check this out. You know, see what that's about. I always tell my clients who are career searching, it's kind of this all or nothing thinking. I think they think that like if they apply for the job already in their minds, they've been hired. And I'm like, it's kind of like dating. I'm like, when you're applying for a job, like you aren't even engaged. Like you aren't even dating. You've just swiped right. And so it's just remember, like, we're not making big steps. Applying for a job is not like, oh my God, I'm in the job. I'm just being curious. It's just that ability to trust myself, to trust my curiosity, right? To follow that intuition. Because as we said earlier, a lot of being confident is about taking action. It's moving beyond these two expensive words, which are but first. Okay. But first is the two most expensive words in our dictionary. Like, but first I need another degree. But first I need to feel ready. But first I need to feel more qualified. But first, but first, but first. And I really encourage us all, because I talked about discomfort, to exchange those two words for something different. And that's also, right? I can give a great presentation while also feeling like an imposter. I can go for this promotion while also feeling unqualified. I can share my ideas while also feeling nervous about what people think. I do it every day. I can have this courageous conversation while also feeling uncomfortable. While also, there are two more lucrative words because there's something that's really inconvenient. And I'm going to tell you now. A lot of people think, well, Kelly, I can't do this because I just don't feel confident. But it's the actions of confidence that come first, and it's the feelings of confidence that come second. Because sadly, confidence is actually a side effect of taking action. And Missy, you were saying I had this issue until my mentor put me in the room in front of over 100 people and I presented process improvement ideas, the feedback to management that gave my confidence. I love it. You got into action, right? And I bet you felt nervous in that room. And I bet you wondered, oh my gosh, what are people going to think? But getting into action produces those feelings of confidence. So the one tool I do want to give you, I gave you a few tools today, in terms of challenging your thinking of the opposite. I love this picture because I think a lot of times when we want to take action, we stall because we're taking way too big of a step. So here's what I would love for you to do. We're going to reverse engineer. This is how I wrote a book. This is how I wrote a TED Talk. This is how I built my business. I pick a date in the future. And for us, let's just do December 31st because you know what? It just feels close and it's easy. I want you just to write down and think about where do you want to be by December 31st? Maybe it's like, you know what? I just want to be applying for jobs. I don't know what those are yet. I just want to be applying for them. Maybe you're going to be going on interviews. Maybe you want to be, putting your name in for a promotion. For those of you who want to build something on the side, you're like, I want to have my first offer shared with the world. So I want you to think about what that is. And then you can use this tool. And sometimes this tool takes a little thought. So we won't get through it all today, but you can take it with you. We're just going to reverse engineer it. Okay. Well, if you want that, then what has to be happening then by November 30th? Okay. If you want that goal, what has to be happening by November 30th? Who do you need to be talking to? What needs to be out in the world, right? What support, what does support look like? Then what needs to be happening by October 31st? By September 30th? By August 31st? That's in 2 weeks, folks. What needs to be happening then by next week, by August 21st? What needs to happen tomorrow? And then ultimately, what's your smallest, bravest next step? Doing a reverse engineer for you process improvement folks, you probably do it at work all the time, but it works really well when we do it with our own goals. When I thought about doing my TEDx talk, right? I always had a goal to have a TEDx talk, but at some point I was like, okay, this has to be my year. So I just reverse engineered it. I'm like, okay, if I want to be considered for next year's TED Talks, then I need to have some certain things done. So then I just had to reverse engineer it. Okay, so then what do I need to have done by a certain day? Okay, well, I need to have my things submitted. Okay, well, then what do I need to have by the next day? Okay, well, I probably need to have a good draft of my answers. Okay, well, then what do I need to have by this day? Well, I probably need to get a better idea of what they expect. Okay, then what do I need to have by this day? Okay, well, who do I know that can help me? And I knew someone. And I was like, okay, then what do I need to do today? My smallest, bravest next step was literally just emailing somebody who I knew was affiliated with my local TEDx. That's all I did. Because I think sometimes we're trying to solve this problem. I was trying to solve the problem of the TED Talk in my brain when really what I needed was to get in community with someone, to have a conversation with someone. And so I'm going to challenge you all. If some of you all said that your smallest, and feel free, if you want to share your smallest, bravest next step, go for it. Sometimes our smallest, bravest next step is like, I need to write the email. I don't need to send it. I just need to write it. I need to draft this thing. I need to write the first 2 sentences of my book. I need to, decide on this topic and stick with it, whatever it is. So if you want to share your smallest, bravest next step, I'd love to hear it. And sometimes it is just sending an email. But the thing that we have to watch out for, though, is that this is where procrastinating can happen. It's like, oh, I need to read another book about it. I need to take a class on it. No, you don't. That's procrastinating. Oh, I need to build a website first. No, you don't. That's procrastinating. Okay. I do, trust me, I'm a perfect procrastinator. Yep. Oh no, I need to do perfect. Nope, that's perfecting. Okay. So procrastination, perfecting, procrastinating, procrastinating, branding. Usually your smallest, bravest next step, if it's going to get you into action, forces you in conversation with someone. I'm going to share this idea on this call. Something I want to do. Because maybe somebody else has done it and I can connect with them and get some. I'm going to reach out to this person. I'm going to send an email to this person. So your smallest, bravest next step, if you want to get into action, can just be the tiniest little thing. And for my TEDx was emailing somebody who I knew. And I said, hey, I'm curious about doing a TED Talk. Send. And that's how it all started, right? Tiny little step. Because here's the thing, y'all, clarity requires confidence and courage because it's easy to hide behind ambiguity. And what I mean by that, it's easy to hide behind, oh, I think I want to start a business someday, or I think I want to do a TED Talk someday, or yeah, I want to do that. But when you're very clear, I want to be considered for your next TEDx cohort, what needs to happen, right? Like, oh my gosh, like, what are people going to think? So how can you be more clear about what you want? My bravest is writing the email and testing me in front of the camera just for me. Biggest fear. Yeah, absolutely. Start with it. We're here for you. All right. Tell me, I'm going to start talking about the retreat here in just a second, but what's everybody's biggest takeaway? Pop it in the chat. I'd love to hear it. What is your biggest takeaway from today? Today, we talked about advancement anxiety and how it's super normal. And when we can name it and some of the expensive thoughts that cause us to kind of feel this anxiety and then get us into a status quo spiral, the more we can kind of quickly catch ourselves and use some of these mental flexibility tools to get us out. And then we talked about being clear and how when we can start to listen to our energy and follow our nudging, it's better than a map because now we have a compass. We know what true north is and what right steps look like and wrong steps look like. And then we talked about being confident. Confidence is a side effect of taking action. And you can do that by taking itty bitty, tiny, brave next steps in alignment with your compass, spiraling both ways. It's not about removing discomfort. It's how will you have a plan, listening to your compass. All right. What else? Yeah, spend time finding your genius zone. Erica, we're going to talk a little bit about that at the retreat in a more broader context. So remember, at the end of the day, y'all, somebody is counting on your unique calling. Like, you have gifts and talents that you have been put on this earth to use, and somebody's literally waiting on them. Somebody needs your process improvement skills. Your organization needs them, right? Somebody needs your coaching skills, your ability to run numbers, your ability to bring programs and people together and, mitigate conflict, being clear and figuring out your next steps. Brave, not your next steps. Next step. Just tiny next step. Yeah, what's the opposite of my negative thinking? So if you're interested in going deeper on this, I would love to invite you to Revive. Revive is the in-person retreat that I am hosting September 28th through 30th in Omaha, Nebraska, down along the riverfront and the riverfront parks. And if the weather goddesses, like, if they do their thing, it will be a beautiful, probably 68 to 70-degree sunny day in September. These women are coming together because they want a lot of what you want. They want more clarity on their career, and they want to be surrounded with a group of women that's going to help them stretch their goals and set really meaningful career intentions for the next 2 to 5 years. I'm going to stop sharing because I want to show you some other things. And this is different. So I've been in corporate America, and I've been at big conferences where you go and you sit in a room all day and it's like a standard agenda, and you're just like, oh my gosh, but this is different. I've modeled this after some of the most impactful retreats that I've personally been to that have helped me achieve some of my goals. And so the way that it'll work is we actually have a pre-retreat connection call where we, all meet on Zoom so that you're not like going into the room awkward meeting, somebody for the first time. And so you're going to know everybody before you even get there. And when you sign up, you actually get a one-on-one goal setting call with me so that we can actually get really clear about what you are hoping to accomplish. So that way, number one, I can challenge you a little bit, which is something that I love to do. But that, you feel like you're using this time intentionally to really accomplish your goals. The other thing that's going to be really unique about this is that we are going to start with a connection dinner that night before. And this is intentionally curated. So I have very intentional questions that are meant to help you connect with these women this Monday night at dinner. And, we'll be together from 5 to 7. So that way you start to form connections. You start to form a support circle. You start to build people who will challenge you in your thinking, right? Or even people who are like, oh my God, me too. Okay. And I think that's so important. This retreat, like I said, is for folks that really feel like there's something for them. There's a next step and they don't know what that is and they want to find more clarity. Some of the women who are coming are telling me, I want to build that 2-year career plan, and we're going to do it. We're going to use a little bit of a compass and you're going to develop your map. Okay. I'm not going to do it because it's your map, but I'm going to be there as your guide to really help you think about what can you accomplish? How can you build a reputation as a clear and confident leader? One of the participants told me this week who's coming, she said, I'm capable of multitudes. She's like, I feel like my company is using like this much of my gifts. So how do I get people to see me in a whole new way? And we're going to be talking about that. Like, how do we brand ourselves as a leader? How do we get people to see us in new ways? How do we show people what we're capable of? We're going to be spending time talking about how to be more strategic, how to really cultivate and craft a leadership brand for yourself that leaves a legacy. And whether that's staying in corporate, whether it's building something on the side, but it's all about moving you closer to the type of leader that you want to become and having people around you that support you, that challenge you to get, new ideas and work on your personal goals. I think the thing that makes this really unique is the format. So not only do we do a dinner that first night so you can build connections, but that first day on that Tuesday, like I said, this is not like a conference. We're going to open with a little bit of a workshop that meets the common goals of the group. Like I said, I interview everyone. So I find out, what do you want to accomplish? Why are you coming? And then we will workshop those common activities and we'll start with that. But then I'm going to custom pair people up. Like, I already have ideas because I know who's coming and I'm like, oh, they need to go with them. They need to go with them. And we're going to get out since it's along the riverfront and it's gorgeous, we'll do little 30-minute walk and talks. Because I don't know about you, but I've solved a good chunk of the world's problems when I've gone on a walk with another smart woman. Like, have you done that? I know I have. So I'm like, we're going to curate that to help, again, curate those connections and that support. We're also going to do something called hot seats. Hot seats are awesome because you get to bring your unique problem to the group. And one of the problems that one of the gals wants to bring, like one of them was, I need to have, we're going to have a huge growth influx. I want to know how other women have scaled inside their company. Like, how did they get approval for resources? Someone else is, how do I get people to see me in a new way? Other people might be saying, hey, I'm trying to cultivate this thing on the side. How do I do that? Well, you get 20 minutes dedicated where I'm coaching you and the rest of the group is helping you crowdsource ideas. So not only do we get to work on your unique challenge that you want solved, but you're going to get the wisdom of the group. And the cool thing about these hot seats is when everybody else is up there, you're like, oh, me too. Me too. And so, like, I'm learning because I have that person's same problem and everybody else is coaching that person. So it's a great way to get problem solved. Obviously, I'm going to feed you lunch. That first day, I have a chocolate sommelier coming. So there's a chocolate tasting and it actually has a leadership lesson built in, which is exciting, but I can't tell you what it is. We'll go to dinner that Monday night for another connection dinner. And then that Tuesday, September 30th, we meet from 9 to 1. That morning, I have my favorite breath work and intention setting expert coming to join us to kick us off. And I've benefited from her so much. I'm inviting her to speak with the group. And we're going to do the same format. We're going to workshop some common things. We're going to do some walk-in talks, or you can go to the rooftop of where we're at and talk. And then we're going to do some hot seats. And then we'll close with lunch, action planning. You're going to take all your little compass nudges that you've had and you're going to put it into a plan. We'll reverse engineer some things and then we'll walk away. And so if this is something that you feel like is exciting to you, if like, okay, I'm like, this, my body's going off in a good way, I would love for you to come. We have about 4 spots left because I do limit this to 16 people because that way everybody can get their hot seat time. And so I have some verbal commits. So we got about 4 to 6 left, depending on who actually hits the submit button. But, beyond just all the things we're going to do, everybody gets an Enneagram assessment. If you haven't taken the Enneagram, it's a super powerful personality assessment. And we're just going to do some really cool things. And I hope that folks, what others are telling me, they want to leave feeling revived, like they have a clear plan for their future. And they've made connections. They've made connections with people that they can text, that they can email when something comes up. I know when I've gone to experiences like this, I still have a group of 3 women. We all met in a situation like this. We're on a WhatsApp group. And this is what we do. We text each other. I'm like, oh my God, WTF. What have you guys done in this situation? And those are the types of connections I want to build from this. So not only will you leave with, a feeling of feeling revived and clear, relaxed, relieved, whatever that is. And you've learned some tools for yourself, but you've hopefully also left with a group of individuals. It is $19.99, and that includes meals, everything I talked about. The only thing you're on your own for is hotel and transportation. If you are a client of mine, there is a special client code. You get $300 off. So if you've ever worked for me in any form, you just shoot me an email and say, Kelli, what's my client code? Or you can look at emails I'll send you. And there still is an opportunity to make 2 payments. I'm going to stop sharing and just check in and see if anybody has any questions about this experience. Again, I'd love to have you. I have room for about 4 or so more people. You can come off mute. You can pop it in the chat. But I'd love to hear if anybody has any questions about it. And if you don't, I will send a follow-up email with everything that you need if this is something that you're interested in. Let me see if there's a chat here. Will you offer this again at another time? I don't know. God's honest truth. I don't know. This is the first time I've done something like this in person. I've done a lot of these for other people. I'm doing this for myself. Shanda, I'm just going to trust my compass on it. I'm going to see how it goes energetically. And then I'm going to see, okay, do we do it again in this format? Do we make tweaks? If I did offer it again, it probably wouldn't be until next fall because I have other things I do in the spring. Thank you, Dusty. I loved and needed to hear these refreshers. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Awesome. Thanks, everybody. And again, if you have questions after this, feel free to send me an email, kelly@kellyraythompson.com. You get emails from me, so you can just reply. I know lots of times I think of the questions I wish I would have asked. Enrollment for the retreat will be open, I think, until September 17th or until full, or until full. Like I said, I have only 4 spots left and I'm capping this at 16. And so if it's something that you're interested in, I'd love to have you. If it's not you, but maybe you know someone else, please share this with her. But most of all, thank you so much for coming today. And if you take a brave next step, I want you to tell me about it. You could tag me on social media, send me a note, but I will be cheering you on as you take your brave next steps. Thanks, everybody. Have a good one.